Are you ready for some nerd power? It's the Falcon Paladin Hour, a podcast by Falcon Paladin and Somicron. Falcon hates puns and thinks that they're all wrong. One's American and one is an Aussie. Talking about StarCraft 2 and the esports scene.
Hello. Welcome to the podcast, Falcon.
Hello, Somicron. Thank you so much. Good to be here.
Yes, indeed. Bovine Slime's here, right on time.
Nice. Perfect timing. What's up, Bovine? Why does it say you're not live for me?
It should. It says
Oh,
it's live
we're
for
back.
me.
We're up. We're wonderful.
Excellent.
I don't know what that was. Jank. It was jank. Anyway, happy podcast today. We've got some more StarCraft to talk about. We have some more Warhammer to talk about as well.
Indeed we do, yeah. Where would you like to start, good sir?
We're going to set the StarCraft, I think.
Okay.
So they just played Group B, featuring Kierstadt, Shin, and Gumio. 4 days ago now, because,
Yes,
the
indeed.
schedule really lines up nicely for us.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got to work and I'm like, oh hey, GSL's going. I guess I'll listen to that while I'm working because it was still going when I got to work. And then it was like the last 5 minutes of the last game. I'm like, okay, that checks out timeline wise, I guess. But I was still
Yeah.
sad.
Understandably so. Yeah, so end of the day, I don't think we're too surprised by the results of who got out here. I think we were both pretty confident that Stats was going to make it. We were kind of not quite sure about the other three, but
Yeah,
there's nothing about Cure getting out that makes me feel like, that's unexpected.
it's a little unexpected he got out first.
Fair. So what? He 2-0'd Gumio and 2-1 Stats. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, if you told me he'd go 2-1 against Stats when they played, I'd be like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But he did. Good job, Cure. Looking nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to her Shin twice. It's a little sad to Shin.
Yeah, but Shin kept trying this garbage all-in stuff on Stats, being like, I'm gonna proxy a hatch and get 4 lings into your mineral line, and then you're gonna die. And it's like, no, it's not, you idiot. In no universe is Stats gonna die to this. It's Stats.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, he killed 10 probes, and you look at Shin's worker count, it's like 9. You're like, Yeah, he's got 9 workers. Stats has 20. And it's like, okay, nicely done. Yeah, and it's those PVZs where the Zerg player gets in and almost kills the Protoss, but it doesn't work, and you're like, okay, it's over. That's it. There is no position. There is no world in which Shin comes back from this after failing with this cheese. There's just not. And it might take a couple of minutes. It might take 5, 6, 7 minutes before it happens. But every single time he did this, and every single time stats shut it down, not like perfectly. He lost workers. He lost pylons. There were times he had a single adept, and like that was it, and his gateway was depowered, and it was like, ooh, this is a little bit tight.
Yeah.
But yeah, if Shin doesn't win this thing here and now, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's definitely had to work for it a little bit at times, I think. But it still looked like it was heavily in his favor most of the time when it's like, okay, the all-in failed, Shin, what else you got? Roll over and die, roll over and die.
Well, yeah, but I don't think you swap out Shin and put Dark in that position after the failed all in and go, all right, Dark, what you got? He rolls over and dies. That's it. He's too far behind. There's nothing else Shin could do. Like one of the game's stats just showed up with like 12 Blink Stalkers and is like, I win. And it's like, ooh, that's not really usually a winning army, but Shin was so far behind, it didn't matter.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So anyway, whatever, Shin. Like, show some self-respect next time you play a good Protoss. Honestly, it was embarrassing. Like, one of these times, try to go 16, 18, 17, third hatch at 2. Like, just do everything, play it normal, play it out, try to out-macro this, show some good skill, instead of this garbage. I mean, it was ridiculous, honestly. I was like, you're the last Zerg. You're the last Zerg in GSL. Like, go out. Like, show us something. And he's just like, no, I refuse. I'm going to pussy my way through every single time I match up against stats.
Wow. Bold word.
That's what he did. And what makes it worse is that after the second time he does it, stats is like, oh, this is all Shin is doing today. And it was. And it was all that he was doing today. So, like, you have no chance of cheesing stats 4 times in a row and winning those last 2, let alone the first 2. I just... Anyway. That's my rant about Shin.
Okay. Well, we've got... What? You got more?
Well, just Gumio. I just think Gumio, he's improved a lot as a player. He used to be known as like a super all-in, cheesy kind of a guy. He's really improved his macro over the last couple of years, but was not able to make it out here. Kira took him down in a couple TVTs. A couple of those games were pretty amazing. Some pretty like long macro style TVTs. One of these, now that I'm remembering, one of these games turned into a Mass Thor versus Mass Liberator thing. Yeah.
What?
And yeah, and State and Tasteless were like, what is happening exactly here? And they're like, well, the Liberator range was nerfed a bit. So Thors can hit them more easily now, question mark? It's one of the weirdest TVTs I've ever seen. I need to cast that one because I was like, what?
Yeah. I'll have to go look for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's all.
Yeah.
So yeah, Zergless GSL playoffs here. Incredible.
Ooh. What are the
I mean,
odds?
we got a guaranteed non-mirror match in the final, so thank goodness for that.
That's something, yeah.
Yeah.
So in the semis, it's Hero versus Stats, and then Kyo versus Maru.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Maru's the obvious choice for his match.
I think so.
What about Hero Stats?
I don't know. I think it comes down to matchup. I think both players are pretty much playing at the same level right now and have the same abilities. It's just I don't know. I don't know how robust Hero's PvP is or how good Stats is either. I assume they're both very good at PvP, but I don't know. Let's take a look. They have those.
I just went to a Ligalax to be like, let's look up, let's compare, let's do a predict.
Ooh,
see what
yeah,
the
good
numbers
idea.
say.
Okay.
And I was just reminded that Cyril has been removed from the leaderboard for inactivity, so he's no longer in the top 10.
Cyril, where'd you go?
Military service.
Oh, right, the military.
Yeah.
Good call. I always forget about that.
Yeah.
So while you look that up, I'm going to look up a historical time. So in 2024, they have played against each other in 4 separate best of 3s.
Okay.
And Heroes won 3 of them.
It does give Hero a 70% chance to win. Like, that's the odds it gives.
Yeah.
Yeah, not good.
But I think Protoss in general, Protoss fans are just like, just give us a GSL win. Like, one of you, get out there, take down whatever Terran shows up in the finals, and we'll be good. We will be happy. I don't care who it is.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah?
That's fair. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I think at this point there are a lot of people who want to see a Protoss win something, just to be like, no, I swear the game's balanced. Everyone else but the Protoss players are just really good, and it gets to a point where it's like, yeah, but the Protoss players aren't that bad, right? They shouldn't be losing everything for 4 years straight.
Yes. Accurate. So save us from that, please. Yeah, so enjoy PPTs. Those are coming.
Yep.
2 a.m. 3:30 a.m. Excellent. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
That's okay. I just watch the VODs when they post them on the YouTubes later that day anyway. It's not a big deal.
The VODs come out pretty quick, actually.
Yeah, no, seriously. Again, they just stream them on YouTube. So YouTube's like, here's the VOD as soon as it's done. And sometimes it messes that up, but a lot of the time, most of the time, it's just like, here it is. It's great.
I should check the VODs because they do. If you watch it live on YouTube, they have it in a window and like a constant banner saying like, if you want the best viewing experience, go to afrika.com and watch it there. And
No.
yeah, and then the VODs are the Afrika broadcast.
Oh.
Have you not seen that?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. You should definitely. I know it's a ludicrous time for you to get up, but check out the live version of GSL because it's everything that you want in a window.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I have heard the complaints about that. Ugh. Anywho. Yeah, the Zergs need to, I don't know, man. Come on, Dark. I mean, congratulations to Dark on the birth of his child. That's wonderful.
Oh, yeah. Dark had a child.
Summicron is willing to put the blame for his utter failure in this GSL at the hands of his unborn child.
I mean, I wasn't gonna say it, but it makes sense. Like, you're not playing well. Dark should have gone further than what he did, right? Like,
Absolutely, yeah. Who does he think he
like-
is? Maru? He's just gonna throw up all over himself in the group stages of something like this?
Right. He lost through stats. He beat Bunny and then lost the Classic. So it's either
Yeah.
he can't handle Protoss, or his
Right.
mind was in other places.
Right.
You know?
I mean, again, I watched those games. I cast a couple of them, and it's just like Dark just forgot how to handle hybrid sky toss, which he's been doing a lot over the last couple of years.
Right.
Because again, I'd love to say that Stats and Classic had figured something out in the new patch, or this is before the new patch. Just figured something out that no other Protoss had figured, and Dark was like, "What is this?" and just got blasted. But no.
His
They were
mind
just
was
doing
in other
the
places.
things. Yeah, it must have been. All right. Well, you got some paternity leave here, Dark, but next time we see you, don't do that again. Let's just not look embarrassing, okay? Okay, thanks.
We need you to be the villain you purport to be in interviews, please. You have to win games for that to work.
Yes, you have to. If you're losing in group stages, that mystique goes away. Nobody fears you anymore.
100%.
Anyway. Anywho, that's GSL. Good job, GSL.
That's DSL.
It is. Lo and behold. All right. So now we got to talk about the Warhammers.
Sure, yeah.
As an aside, sometimes my library is like, you have to read this in your Kindle app. And I'm like, okay. So then I do.
Okay.
But then I don't know how to return it once it's in my Kindle library. And they keep sending me messages like, it's due soon. I'm like, I know, I'm done with it. Help me return it.
You can't, like, mark it as finished and, like, that'll return it?
No, if you long press on a book in your library, I can remove it from my library. Maybe that will do it.
Maybe that'll do it.
But nothing about it's like, this is a library book. What would you like to do with it as a library book? As as an opposition to the ones that I've purchased and I just have, right?
Right. I mean, Is the library app a separate thing?
Yeah, and then I have a library app that I'm borrowing through, and you can read it through the library app. And I've done that with most of my Warhammer books that I've borrowed.
Can you, like, does it still show up there or anything? Or can
Nope.
you... Okay, well,
Yeah, that's one of the first things I tried was, can I return? It just doesn't show up on my shelf. I don't get it. Anyway.
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Whatever. It's cool. Anyway, man. So let me tell you something about this book that you didn't get because you don't get the authors afterward.
I would love to hear about the authors afterward, yeah.
I don't know. So in the Dan Abnett is like, first of all, I didn't take the Space Wolves seriously at all.
Right?
I was like, they're like Vikings in space. They're dumb. And then Graham McNeil was like, fuck you, and you're writing this book about the Space Wolves now. And he was like, yeah, I probably should.
That's great.
It's a great thing. But also, and what the first thing I was going to say was that Dan Abnett had like a major seizure halfway through writing this book.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did not know that.
So he... What does he say? Where is this? Wait, I'm in the wrong book. I'm reading the afterword for the wrong book. I'm like, why are they not talking about Space Wolves? There we go. Yeah, so basically he has a major seizure, spends a bunch of time in the hospital. They would just say you have epilepsy. It's like, it's nothing crazy. He's taking some pills now. It's nothing like life-threatening at all. But he says... Yeah, he says, the funny thing is, Hauser has a fractured personality. The way I wrote him after the seizures reflected the way my mind felt. But I look back and see that I was writing him that way before I ended up on the kitchen floor with my wife ringing for an ambulance. So he says, if you look at the work I produced that year, you'll see a detached notion of self coming to the fore. It wasn't deliberate. That's crazy, huh?
Yeah.
I thought that was neat.
That is neat. I think it's really interesting that Dan Abnett's like, the Space Wolves are boring, they're Vikings in space, whatever.
Yeah.
Easily goes on to write the best representation of Space Wolves. Totally nails making them a believable legion and like different culture to just imperial people somewhere. Like he absolutely fucking nails it.
Yeah. I mean... Yeah, so basically, this is one of my favorite afterwards. He's like, all right, look, know your foe was a propaganda slogan during the Second World War. I did not know my foe, the Space Wolves, fictionally speaking. But the gauntlet was down, and I decided to face my demons. I would write Space Wolves. I would write Space Wolves that I believed in. So that's where he approached it from. Yeah, he basically wanted to take this thing he didn't understand, he didn't take seriously, and write them in a way that he would respect and he would believe in and he would understand thoroughly. And yeah, it worked for the reader too. So pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very fun. Yeah, so I mean, it's a really interesting concept for the book. Because it's called Prospero Burns, but we don't really make it to Prospero until like the super end of the book.
Right. In the 14-hour audiobook, Prospero starts burning at the 1 hour left mark, and you're done with Prospero burning, and there's still 15 minutes left. Like...
Yeah. That is correct. What does he... Yeah. People have asked why more of Prospero Burns isn't devoted to the actual battle itself. It's because it's not a battle report. It's like everyone knows how it's going to end. The point of the story in the novel is why it happened. And I was like, oh, all right. Fair enough. And he's like, I'd like to point out that 1,000 Suns is simply a brilliant book. Screw mine, read Graham's instead.
It's just fair. That much bigger battle in that book.
Yeah.
Graham McNeil's 1,000 Suns, yeah.
which we have read. So yeah, so when you were like, well, it's Prospero Burns, it's the battle from a different perspective, I was like, I'm dragging my feet. And no, the reality is, no, it is, it is not that at all.
Well, that's one of the things. I hadn't read the book.
Right.
Like,
So you didn't
yeah,
know, just you had heard incorrect things.
pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
I
So
mean,
anyway.
I knew it would hit like some similar beats, like it's establishment and then Council of Nicaea and then Prospero, right? And that's what it does.
Yeah, yeah, but barely. You're at the Council of Nicaea. You don't hear anything anybody says during the official goings on at the Council of Nicaea, right? Okay.
Right? Yeah.
So it's, I mean, that was hilarious when I realized, like, wait, we're at the Council of Nicaea. When are we gonna
Do the council.
Yeah, when are we gonna hear from Magnus? When are we gonna hear from Russ? Oh, we're not. Oh, okay.
This is a book about Lehman Russ breaking Magnus's back at the Battle of Prospero, and Magnus isn't in it.
He is referred to a few times, more than a few times, but he's not there. That is true.
Yeah. He's like just over there. Don't look. Go read the other book if you want to see what's over there.
Which I appreciate. I really do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, the whole conceit of the book is that it takes place from the perspective of Hauser. And it goes by different names, and so it's kind of like,
Caspar
how do we
Hauser,
refer to this
Ahmad
guy?
Ibn Rusta.
Right. I'm going to call him Caspar Hauser, I think.
Caspar Hauser, otherwise known as Ahmad Ibn Rusta.
Right.
Yes.
Up in Iden Rasta. Yeah. So, bottom line, he's on Fenris, which is the home of the Space Wolves. It's freezing cold. He's like living on an ice floe somewhere. He's injured from the crash. There's a group of native
Natives?
Fenrisians,
Yeah, yeah. Native Fenris.
right?
Yep.
Yeah. That one of the tribes has basically picked him up and been like, why are you here? What's going on? We'll keep you from dying, I guess.
I guess.
We'll
yeah.
be your friends, I suppose. And then the other surrounding tribes hear about this dude who fell from the sky and is basically like, bad omen. Gotta kill this dude or the gods will be unhappy with us. Because
Dista.
that's how,
Yep.
yeah, that's how things work, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, long story short, he ends up, fleeing with some of the tribe that is protecting him because I feel like his legs are broken. He's not doing well.
No.
He's super
pretty roughed
mega
up.
injured from the crash, right?
Yeah, they get him in a boat, and they're like,
Yeah.
we'll sail to like a nearby ally, sort of, and like they'll take us in. And then they
Right.
get partway there, and they're like, "Oh, look, they're coming out to greet us with red flags,
sails.
red sails." Oh,
Yeah.
oh, never mind.
And like, I think Hauser does some mental calculation. This is like, they are here early.
right,
Like, someone told them we were coming in. It wasn't us. That's not good. Yeah, so they're trying to kill him too. Anyway, long story short, he gets saved by an Astartes who shows up and wrecks everything because we've talked about the power leveling in Warhammer. An Astartes can kill pretty much anything but a Primarch and a Custode and the Emperor, right?
I mean,
if you
again, there's no official power scale that says they can't. It's entirely up to the narrative. Like, there is a book where a Primarch dies and he's killed by someone who's basically a regular person. Like,
What?
they're not like a random dude off the street. Obviously, someone who's trained and skilled, and like, let them kill it. Like, the Primarch was like, "Yes, I will die, and that'll prove my point to the Emperor, because fuck him," and lets this person kill them. Right? So it's not that like
Well,
they
except...
can't.
Right, but if the Primarch is not willing to let himself be killed by regular folk of any level, it's not happening, right?
Again, it's like, okay, it's not going to happen because like it wouldn't happen in a war story where your general marches out alone on the battlefield and is like, "Come at me, bro," to the entire army. There are definitely scenes in later books where Primarchs are surrounded on the battlefield, and they feel like they're about to die, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you
Like,
throw enough at
yeah,
one.
it's a
Yeah,
numbers game, sort of. Yeah,
right. Fair enough.
like
Okay, so bottom line, Astartes from the Space Wolves shows up. There aren't enough tribal people to deal with this, so they
right.
all die immediately. Right.
Yeah, yeah.
And then
Pretty
most of
much.
the book takes place with Hauser being picked up and taken care of by the Space Wolves who are on Fenris.
The space wolf
And
who comes to save him says his name, and it is translated as Bear for
Bear. Yeah.
Caspar
Which is
Hauser.
a
He means
badass
bear.
name. Good
It
name for
is.
an
It's a
Astartes.
great
I
name.
like it.
The
Yeah.
bear.
Yeah.
Doesn't like bear. Yeah.
I mean, no problems with Bear. Bear is cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So anywho, yeah. So then the vast majority of the book is like Hauser living with the Space Wolves, learning their customs, learning their ways, becoming a
A,
scald.
a skald. Yeah.
Scald.
Yeah. So I
Which is
think you skipped a bit, which is
Oh,
where he gets knocked
well.
unconscious by Bear ripping his augmetic eye out and spends 80 years in cryo.
Right. We're gonna get back to that, but the general concept is most of the book is him learning
Right. Yeah.
and becoming a record keeper and a storyteller for the Space Wolves who are on Fenris. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. That is accurate enough
Right.
to say.
But yeah, the start of his stay with them is incredibly traumatic in that he's basically dying anyway because he's been dying since his little pod crashed onto Fenris. And then he's been hauled in a boat, and then he was like dumped on a beach somewhere, and it was just not receiving the medical care that he needed. So he's in the brink between life and death, and Bear's like, "We're here," and then he yanks his eye out. It's like, "Let's go."
Let's start as we mean to go on. Let that out. Which is great because you
stuff.
have absolutely no idea why he does that for a little while as well.
A long time, yeah, many chapters. Yeah. So the next thing we get from Hauser is he wakes up, and he's on some like I
Gunny.
don't say it's a gurney.
It's like a medical bed. It's the closest they get to like a hospital in the Fang.
Right. And so there are all these doctors like leaning over him, wanting to poke and prod him and stuff. And he's like, "What is happening? Where am I? This is terrifying. I don't want any of this." And rips
They're
his
all
way
the-
out of the restraints and like
Right.
smacks him around and runs. So that's the first point where you're like, so last time I checked, Caspar Hauser was like 80. not exactly in ripping restraints out of a hospital bed shape.
Right.
Yeah.
A little more of the old and frail sort.
Yeah.
But not anymore, apparently.
Not anymore. He's fighting with these, with these doctors and doing pretty well for himself and everything. Yeah. So then, I forget who finds him first. Is it Bear?
No, I don't think it's Bear. I think it's Weirdmake. I would say Weirdmake.
Okay.
Yeah, or because he takes him to Amalodi Skarsensen, which is
Yes.
a holdover from A Thousand Suns, and I still love that name.
Pretty great name. Yeah.
Skarsensen. Yeah, it's great.
There are plenty of people with names like that in like Norway, but yeah.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. Probably. So yeah, and then from there he's told that your body was pretty much beyond repair, so we Astartes lighted you. We
They didn't turn him into an Astartes at all.
No.
Like, they just rebuilt him. They like
Would
rejuvenated
you be
all his
surprised if
body.
he had like 2 livers now? I wouldn't.
Well, yeah, I would, because they would have mentioned it, and they didn't.
I guess.
Like, there's a very specific point where they're like, yeah, there's this booze that the Space Wolves kind of drink, and they did not give any to me because my liver can't handle it. I would die.
It's a good
So
point.
They didn't give him any superhuman upgrades. They just rebuilt him, but made him, like, really fit and buff.
He's borderline superhuman though, because he gets jumped in that warehouse later, and like, he's not even trying to wreck these dudes, and he's wrecking these dudes, right?
But, I mean, He might be baseline Fenrisian.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, that's fair. Let's say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Anywho, yeah. So then he just spends a bunch of time hanging out and learning about the space wolves and what they value and how they approach their jobs and how they see themselves in the Imperium. And yeah, a lot of the book is that. A lot of that is just spending time with them. Oh, and also when he wakes up with his new body, he can speak Fenrisian fluently and understand it.
Right, and nobody can tell him why. Nobody
Yeah,
knows
and
why.
they're
They're just
like,
like,
"That's weird, huh?" And he's
huh.
like, no, but really, promise, I did not speak this before I was knocked unconscious."
Yeah, I couldn't speak Juvik and Worgen, but now I can.
Yeah, and
They're
I was
just,
like, they have to be lying. They had him under for 90 years. Like, at no point are they screwing around with his brain. Come on.
no,
But it turns
apparently
out they
not.
weren't lying. Spoilers. Yeah.
Spoilers. God.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the book at this point is just Hauser like living with the Spaceballs. He goes on like an deployment with them to like the Quietude, which is like a little, I don't know, once human settlement empire thing that they go and destroy. But in between that, it's flashing back to when he was younger, even though his body was older.
Mm-hmm.
And he was still on Terra, and he was setting up the conservatory, which is basically like an archaeological library for that he wants like everyone to have access to. A very philanthropic gesture by this guy's part.
Yeah, so bottom line, he's upset that the Grand Crusade is gathering in all this information, all of these collected works and books and records from all these planets we're conquering. But then they're getting dumped in a warehouse somewhere. Nobody's cataloging them. Nobody's telling us what it is we're finding or finding the value in the stuff we're finding. It's just being forgotten. So he's like, "Why are we collecting this shit if we don't know what it is?"
Right.
Yeah. So he's like, let's figure out what it is. That's his whole goal here. That's what he wants to do. Yeah.
He eventually gets dissatisfied after like the death of his friend. He goes on and takes on a more administrative position, and then not being suited to that work, gets upset with all the politicking required to like maintain funding from the Imperium. They want to make it a administratum like owned branch of operations, and he's like, well,
Right.
that like you guys are the guys hoarding all the shit and just like not figuring out what it is. That's no better, and you like there'll be no recourse for the everyday person, and he basically resigns out of frustration there, and that's like the impetus for him going to Fenris. Yeah.
Yeah. He basically is like, screw bureaucracy. I can't get done what I want to do because all those stupid bureaucrats in the Imperium. And don't know anything about the space wolves. And I've always been kind of afraid of wolves. So how about we deal with that by going to Fenris? So he
Which
goes to Fenris.
yeah. I mean, there's no wolves on Fenris though, Falcon. There are no wolves on
Correct.
Fenris.
There are no wolves on Fenris, which is like every writer's gosh darn favorite line in any of the books they're writing. If they can say there's no wolves on Fenris, they're happy.
I am reasonably confident there is a codex somewhere from like the middle of the 80s that's had that line in there, unknown author, and they're all like, and everyone ran with it like as like a cult thing, and
Yep.
that's why they've thrown it in there 1,000 times. Not to mention like the intrigue of why there are no wolves on Fenris when there definitely are wolves on Fenris isn't
Right.
worth examining on its own. But like, everyone's gonna get it in there somehow. It seems.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, so he keeps going back and remembering things from his past. Just different moments in his past, especially related to his work. And then also the Space Wolves are kind of trying to help him. Is that later? When do they start doing that?
That's after the death of Hellwinter. No, Hellwinter's the guy that takes over for Longfang.
Yeah.
And it's after the Council of Nicaea.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So they do the battle against the Quietude. The
Longfang
base
dies.
Longfang dies. And not. I mean, it's hard to say it's because Hauser has no fighting prowess at all.
Right.
Basically, they're like, you have to come with us because you are a skald and you need to see the battles. You need to see the stories.
Well,
You need to record these for later.
that's the thing. They don't actually
Yeah.
say you need to come. They're like, the one benefit that you have as a skald is you get to go wherever you want. Nobody can tell you no, like you're not welcome. You get to put your nose in everyone's business. And he's like, I've been getting stories secondhand. You mean I can just come with? And they're like, yeah, we'll protect you. And like
Right, and that's the key.
It doesn't seem like at any point they were concerned that he could not fight or that he would be an encumbrance to them in war.
Right.
They're just like, no, you're welcome. Of course you are. Come on, get in the drop pod. Let's go.
Yeah, you should have been asking a long time ago.
So he's there. Longfang is like forced to defend him, gets wounded, and they're like, stay with him, you know, tell him a story. And you
As
get a
he's
really
probably dying. Yeah.
probably dying, but he's gonna tell you he's healing just to make you feel
Right.
better. And he tells him the story of meeting like a cult on Terra in a library.
Which I'm still not sure what was going on there.
So what was that guy's name?
Talk about him so much.
Yeah. Rector Uwe? I love it when there's just like a ton of people in the book that either aren't listed under the dramatis personae on the wiki or just don't have pages, so their name's in red and I can't check to see if that's who it is.
Navid Mirza.
Navid Mirza, yeah.
Yeah.
He has been secretly working for a magic cult, cult that teaches magic.
Right.
In my head, these people are very like Sorcerer's Apprentice with who's the guy from National Treasure?
Nicolas Cage?
Yeah, Nicolas Cage. So these are all like that kind of sorcerer, all fancy robes and doing magic, but not like Navid's like, oh, you shouldn't use the speaky magic. What's it called?
Yeah.
God.
I don't know.
Here's the annoying thing. The last book I read before this, it was another Dan Abnett book where Enuncia is what it's called. It's also in this, so it really annoys me that I couldn't remember what it was called. Enuncia. He's like, you shouldn't use Enuncia to kill. And like, so in my head, they all just like are in robes and doing secret stuff for the fun of it and having a good time doing magic, but it's not really that at all. There's 8 of them, and they always kill an old member to initiate someone new, and that's much less fun. But apparently they taught this guy, Navid Mirza, some Enuncia, which isn't going to be mentioned, like what that is in this book. If you know what Enuncia is, read other books.
Well, apparently, you can just use it if you say it correctly. It doesn't require any training or special ability or implant or anything. You can just, if you say it right, it works.
Yeah, Nuncia is magic anyone can do. You do not need to be a psyker, you just need to know the words. Saying them incorrectly can make all your teeth fly out of your mouth or pop your own brain, but it will probably do that to anyone who hears it too, so it's got value.
Well, so what is it then? Does it come from the warp? Like everything comes from the warp.
Unknown.
Oh my gosh! All right.
The answer is the answer is probably. There are other books that do touch on it in the Horus Heresy, so you'll get more answers, but you'll never get a lot. It's basically like a foundational magic of the universe, something that's kind of pure. From like a time before the warp was raging with demons and emotions and stuff.
Sure, but like, where does the power come from?
It's magic, dude.
I know it is.
It's literal magic.
Yeah. Anyway, the point is, they taught Mirza this magic, and then Mirza uses it in front of Hauser, and Hauser's like, "What the hell was that?"
What the fuck was that dude? He's like,
Yeah.
goes to find him. They all like, they're on their way to like an archaeological dig, right? And they're
Yep.
like, oh, we've got this like inside scoop. We just gotta go make a deal, pay off some dudes. They're gonna let us into this like special area, like a holy place for these people. We just need to pay them off. It'll be great. And then they
Right.
get like they're lit on like a circuitous route, and like, oh, these guys are just like here to kill us and take our money, right? If we don't pay them.
Classic
And
move.
so,
Yeah.
yep, all the archaeologists split up and run back for their camp. Their house is about to be shot. Navid uses Enuncia, says a word of Toth or something, and blows this guy's skull open.
Yeah.
They eventually get back to like their hotel or whatever. Everyone's safe, but they find Navid with a bottle of whiskey in the shower, just being like, "My mouth hurts," and he's like using whiskey as mouthwash. He's like, "I should not have tried that. That was beyond my skill. I don't think you should know this." And Hauser keeps pushing, and he's like, "All right, I'll set up a meeting, but like, here, let me tell you what I can. I've been secretly selling information to a magic cult."
Not selling. I think he's just giving it to him.
Just yeah,
It's like
just giving.
ideological. Yeah.
Yeah. And he says,
Yeah.
to his credit, and I think he was being honest, that like he hasn't given them anything he didn't also give the conservatory. Like he's passed on copies in both directions. Is what it sounds like.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's what he said, and I think Hauser believed him. But yeah. Well, what's interesting too is that there was a whole group of them, right? And they all had to split and scatter when it went bad. And I don't know, like Mirza's, he showed some concern for the other people. Like I think he does ask, like, what happened to this person or this person, and Hauser's like, they'll probably make it back, no thanks to you. Like we prepared for this stuff. We've dealt with this before. Like they know how to go to ground and make it back to base when
And
things go bad.
it's been very clear that Mirza set up this arrangement with these people, right, to get access to a site to explore or whatever. Like
Yeah.
this has been Mirza's show,
Yeah.
and that's why his houses are like, this is no thanks to you, buddy.
Well, yeah, and Hauser's like, we've been doing this long enough. We know how to be careful. We know how to avoid situations like this. Like, why didn't you do that? Why didn't you follow our protocols to avoid having this even happen in the first place? And then he's like, they kind of have a moment where they're both like, we're both greedy, and it's not for money, it's for knowledge. It's
Right.
greed for like what we can find, what knowledge can we gain from
An
these
academic's
digs and
greed,
from
yeah.
these things, right? And sometimes it causes them to be reckless because they want so much to know everything there is to know. Anywho,
Yeah, which, I mean, when you later pair that with like Hauser is talking to some of the Space Wolves, and he's like, the Emperor made all the Primarchs and all the Legions to do specific things, and he's like,
Yeah.
and what about the Thousand Sons? What do they want? They like to know everything, and it's like, oh,
well, and Hauser's like, what do you mean by everything? And he's like, as far as I understand it, everything.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's why they run their intelligence agency or whatever. Yeah, it really is. It's really well done where it sets up like, okay, these are these academics getting themselves in overhead, and then later you can put the pieces together of how that would be easily exploitable by the Thousand Sons. How like
Right.
these people are prime candidates for like mind slaving, basically. Yeah.
Yeah,
Do we wanna
just because
like,
they're so eager to
Yeah.
know anything. You're like, here's some knowledge, and there's a passenger along with that knowledge, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Do we want to basically get to like the end of the book and explain
Yeah.
the like the ending? Because
Yeah.
it is basically revealed that the Space Wolves know that Hauser is a spy, right? And they're like,
Right.
well, we've been like poking and prodding at you while we had you on ice. We hooked you up to like, it's like a network of dreadnoughts. So the dreadnoughts are wounded Astartes who are so helplessly almost dead, but can't be healed. They put him in a dreadnought, right? Like, here's your sarcophagus, but that tends to make him go crazy after a while. So they put him to sleep. And that sleep is like the cold, dark room with voices muttering in, like, by a fire. And he's
Yeah.
like, none of us like it here. And so they had been scanning his mind and, like, after he woke up, testing him to, like, hinting at secrets and being like, even Longfang was like, I guess you can know a secret now. And Hauser, like, refuses to even believe the story when he hears it, but, like, they had been, like, trying to see just how much of a active spy he was and, like, what his role was on Fenris. Was it just information gathering, or was he, like, sabotage as well? And when they get to the Council of Nicaea, there are Null Maidens, some Sisters of Silence, who, when he has entered their aura, he loses the ability to speak Fenrisian. And so they're like, okay, yeah, that settles it. Like,
It's warp fuckery. Yeah.
it's warp fuckery.
We figured it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
And one of the fun things too is that the Space Wolves' ideology and how Russ sees it is we never want to hide our intentions or our tactics from our enemies. We want them to know full well what we're bringing to them. And, you know, whether that's arrogance, whether that's a sense of fair play, it's an intimidation tactic. I'm sure it's probably maybe all of those things. But
all three, yeah.
yeah. So they're like, we have a spy among us. Like, whoever's spying on us, it's cool. They can see what we're doing. They can see how powerful and awesome we are.
We have a spy above us. What should we do? Make him a skull. Give him the ability to go anywhere and get any information. It's great.
Yeah. They're like the antithesis of the Alpha Legion. They have no interest in any of that stuff that the Alpha Legion loves so much.
Oh, it's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we get a scene which explains something we laughed at in A Thousand Suns, because we were confused briefly about the name of Magnus's, like, adoptive father, or, like, some guy he knew when he landed to Prospero, which was Ammon. And we were reading the wiki page, and it's like, Ammon once, like, there's a custodian also called Ammon. It's like, oh, Ammon once, like, was in disguise because he had the same name as another star, as a custodian, also called Ammon. And it's like, that didn't make a lick of fucking sense. And now we get to it, and the wiki's just poorly worded, where it's the Thousand Suns, when you know someone's name or a part of it, that gives you power over it with warp fuckery.
Right.
And suddenly, Ammon, this Thousand Sun Space Marine, is able to puppet Ammon Taramakian, the Custodians, because he knows his true name, basically.
Yep. Which is pretty crazy. I feel like we should have seen this before now in the Horus Heresy. Right?
You'd think so, yeah. It is wild that a Thousand Sun, and, like, a high-ranking one, he's like a captain of, like, their shadow operate, like, company or whatever.
Yeah.
Is like, yeah, I'm just gonna puppeteer. I'm gonna use psychic bullshit. Puppeteer a Custodes at the Council of Nicaea when we're loyal, you know?
Right. Right.
That's bold.
It's bonkers. Yeah. Very, very bold.
Oh.
So then Amon, the bad one, tries to puppet Bear and can't. And he's like, wait, what?
And
then Bear beats him down and is going to tear his throat out. And Hauser's like, no, we need him alive for information.
He's proof. He's evidence. You know?
Yeah.
Which is a fair point.
But also, so? I mean...
Not much of a due process fan, I guess.
Well, no. No.
If you're at the Council of Nicaea, and all you have is a dead body of a Thousand Sun, and everyone just goes, oh, look, there's the angry Fenrisians unable to keep their rage in check and their barbaric instincts.
And multiple custodians are like, so this happened.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah. I'm just saying, look, they needed a way for this dude to get away. And
Yes.
so they played the, we must take him prisoner card. Whatever, it's fine. And I do
mhm.
love they specifically were like, he's getting away, he's running. And the custodian's like, nah, we got this place on lockdown. He's not going anywhere. And then 2 pages later, they're like, he got away. So funny. If I'm Bear, I'm like,
Oh. You cut out? You're not making any noise, buddy. Did you pull your cable out? Oh, I think his internet died. Falcon.
oh, you're back. You're
Oh.
back. I'm back. Okay.
We're all back. Whew.
We're all back.
Thought
We're
I lost
back.
you for a minute. Thought I lost you.
I know, you did. For a second. No, and I'm just like, if I'm Bear, I'm like, are you kidding me? I had him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. And so after that, we're given a scene where the Space Wolves take a sabbatical and like hang out on a planet for a little bit and try and unlock more of Hauser's old memories. And like,
Yeah.
Hauser wants to learn how to fight. Oh, actually, he learned how to fight earlier. I forgot that he had like drawn his axe when he was like meeting Primarchs.
Right.
And he's like,
And they comment on it. They're like, well, you're bringing us this guy actively wielding an axe. And he's like, oh,
oh,
like, puts it away.
Put it away.
Yeah. Well, and he's like, I'm not good at it. I'm not as good as these guys are, but I'm learning. Yeah,
I'm learning,
better
yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
Also, I did really like, I'm just going to cancel Nikea, when he's being debriefed by Primarch Russ, Typhon of the Death Guards, Constantine Valdor, General Captain of the Custodes, Fulgrim of the Emperor's Children, and Raldron of the Blood Angels. Very senior, very important people, and they're all just being like, yeah, you're a spy, we've known that forever. Also, let's take 5 minutes to discuss imperial politics from 80 years ago when you worked at the conservatory. And tell you that, like, if you had stayed there, you might have been a High Lord by now.
Right. Like, things are going good, but somebody had brainwashed you into thinking they weren't. That's neat. And he's
That's
like,
neat,
no,
yeah.
that's not possible. Yeah. And it's funny because Hauser's brain breaks at some point, being introduced to all of these people eventually. Is it with Fulgrim? Or he's just like, I got nothing. Like, I cannot respond to what's happening to me anymore. This has been too much for one day. Yeah, that was
I think
funny.
that's what that is, yeah. But basically they end up on a planet, and they've got Hauser working through some, like, axe actions. Like, he's like, hey, go do your combat drills. And Hellwinter, a new Space Wolf Rune Priest, and the Rune Priests are all Psykers. If you didn't pick up on that, Longfang was a Rune Priest, they're Spikers.
Right.
They are in full violation of the Council of Nicaea, still doing warp shit.
Right.
But because it's Fenrisian warp shit, it doesn't count.
I guess.
Yeah. It's also
Because, the
apparently
Amon of the
much safer.
Thousand Suns is like, screw you. You're judging me for doing warp fuckery, and you're doing it too. It's like, wow.
Yeah. But we know where to stop. Right?
That's
like,
the
we
thing.
see the line. And like they're kind of they're kind of right, is the thing. They're still hypocrites.
And it's tricky, man. The Emperor wasn't like, actually he was. The Emperor was like, we can use a little bit of the warp for navigation and stuff.
Right. We clearly still need the warp, yeah.
Yeah. He did open the door to be like, a little bit of warp is okay. It's tricky. And we've talked about this before. Like, why didn't the Emperor just straight up warn his Primarchs about how dangerous the warp is and what it is and maybe how to combat it when it shows up? Anyway, that's a different discussion. But
yeah. So while he's doing his axe drills or whatever, Weirdmake has enlisted the aid of Ada Hailwolf to also begin psychically probing him, and is like, they give like an analogy of like, Weirdmake is like coming in through the front door. This guy's been secretly mounting an assault from the rear and is going to attempt to break in through the back door. And like they find that the door has been like purposely left open as a trick by someone at the Thousand Suns to like always have the ability to come in and like tinker with this guy's memory if he needs to again.
Right.
And that sends off like a psychic alarm to the Thousand Suns, and they're like, "Nope, let's put some magic through this guy and turn him into a wolf."
Right, which is kind of like a funny thing. Like they're playing, like they're joking, right? They're like, it's a Fenrisian who's poking around in here. Let's turn them into a wolf. Ha 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 ha.
Well,
That's funny.
I don't think it's this guy having like a wicked sense of humor, because the thing about there are no wolves on Fenris, it's that the space wolves are slowly turning into wolves. Like
Yeah.
their biology is out of control, and occasionally they will just like turn into a wolf. I think it's basically turning that dial up and down. That's the joke. It's not I picked a wolf
okay.
out of all the animals. It's like here's a thing I can do. It's
This
very,
knob is here.
yes, it's very much a
Yeah.
I can change biology, and the word change is very key there because the Thousand Suns at this point are also going through the flesh change coming back, basically,
Right.
and they're having that worry, and so they can change the biology of space wolves, and basically they manage to kill the wolf, right, and like take him captive, and they interrogate him, and he has prophecy of the anatheme being used to wound Horus, but Ogvi dismisses it. Which more prophecy that like Horus is going to be evil and nobody being able to do anything with that information.
Oh yeah, 2 separate times in this book alone.
Yeah, because after that they basically just like, yeah, we've been summoned to Prospero. He's done some shit, and we're gonna go kill him. And like Russ is talking to Hawker, and he's like, look, it doesn't matter because we can't trust him because he's given this information, but he's doing it for selfish reasons. If he's right, we still can't trust him because he wants us to just forgive him and let him continue doing what he's doing, but we know what he's doing is over the line.
Right.
And so you do finally get some like decent answers to why like the Emperor couldn't just be like, you know what, the house is on fire, but I think you're right, which I think is the argument we had ages ago.
It is. And yeah, I did appreciate that. I appreciate Abnett being like, let's try poking at this a little bit, making it make a little bit more sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which
so I
was-
did appreciate that.
I thought it was good. I thought that was good.
Yeah. And then you get a nice little discussion too about how the Space Wolves are the Emperor's executioner. And Hauser's like, you're all really good at killing stuff. And he's like, no, like we are the executioner arm of the Emperor. He tells us to kill something, we kill it dead. All the way. We don't have any questions. We don't hold back.
We
It
don't
doesn't
ask.
matter where we're pointed. We kill it dead. And that's why the Emperor used us to take down the Thousand Suns, because that's who we are.
But that's the interesting thing, because it's also heavily implied that Horus intercepted those orders and told Russ not to bring Magnus back in chains like the Emperor actually asked, but maybe that would be a waste of time and he should just kill him. Like, the Thousand Suns get used here, but the order is not execution.
Right.
From the Emperor, at least. But they
that is
believe
interesting.
that is their own role, that they're executioners, and the Emperor's sanction here must be execution. Why else would he be picking us?
Right. Makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there is a tiny little bit at the end of the book where Hauser's talking to, I want to say it's Bear, and no, it might be Russ, and he's like, there couldn't have been any precedent for this, right? Like, what you guys call yourself the Emperor's executioners, but there could be no precedent for you guys being sanctioned against another group of Astartes. And he's like, oh, there's precedent for that. And it's like, oh, another little reference to the two lost legions. Maybe the Space Wolves killed them all.
Right. Sure seems like that's the implication here.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. Anywho.
Yeah.
So end of the line, it turns out that there was a demon involved in messing with Hauser's memories and doing a lot of work actually to help the Heresy along.
Yeah, so they don't name that demon.
They call him something.
What do they
He
call
calls
it?
himself something.
He gives himself some names. He also considers himself
Yeah.
so they're on Prospero,
The
and
Primordial Annihilator.
yes, the
That's a good
Primordial
name.
Annihilator is
I
not the
like
name
it.
of a demon.
Aw.
The Primordial Annihilator is the name of the Chaos Gods.
Oh,
So in Legion, when who's the spy? In Legion, the Perpetual, John
yeah.
Grammaticus. He's like walking through the
Grammaticus.
town, and he knows every language, and the other people are like, "Oh, may the fire soothe your soul" or whatever. And he's like, "Well, the literal translation of that is, may the Primordial Annihilator destroy you."
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So when they say
So it's just
Primordial Annihilator,
chaos.
chaos, but in specific, the one that goes through convoluted plots and plans to put people in the right place. And when
Right.
he's doing his big reveal speech of like, I'm Horus, I've been Nadid or whatever his name was, come back from the dead, to like, as the triggering instincts to like, who could set up and manipulate people across hundreds of years like this? It's Zinch. It is the Legion, the Chaos God that the Thousand Suns fall to. It's Zinch. That is who
Okay.
this Primordial Annihilator is.
This specific dude. Yeah.
Yeah, so the entire book
Okay.
turns out to be a Zinchian plot, which...
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, yeah, and I love the idea. There's more to it than this, but basically what what Chaos wanted was, first of all, the space wolves are incredibly dangerous. And the Thousand Suns are incredibly dangerous for different reasons because of their ability to wield the
Magic.
warp in
Yeah.
magic in dangerous ways. So they're like, oh, what if we can get the Space Wolves and the Thousand Suns to wipe each other out? That'd be awesome. Two birds, one stone.
So,
Two legions who are really dangerous to us and what we're trying to accomplish here gone. That'd be beautiful.
yeah. Wunderbar.
But then in the end, the Space Wolves are too good at their jobs. Just completely wipe out the Thousand Suns without really
Right.
taking too many casualties. And this demon's like, dang it, like we tried.
He's kind of like, yeah, we tried, but even in failure, we still pushed the Thousand Suns. Like, he admits that, like, yeah, Magnus was, like, dabbling in shit, but if he wasn't pushed, he would have never crossed that final line. He would have
Right.
never actually truly fallen, and what we do end up having is a now traitor Thousand Suns Primarch. And he's like,
Which is
I guess
pretty
that's a
nice.
win anyway.
Right. Like whatever's left of his Thousand Suns, we'll take
Yeah.
it. That's a win for us. Yeah.
And, like,
Yeah.
from what I've heard, that is a very common thing with Zinch, where it's like, Zinch is losing until he's winning, until he's not winning and he's losing, but that was actually his plan the entire time, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
so, that's great.
It's tough. It's a tough enemy to fight against who's planning on that level and executing on that level. Like that's I'm not sure there's any other I don't know. I don't have enough experience to say this, but it's a rare enemy in the galaxy that's capable of manipulating entire legions that way, right?
I mean, probably, yeah. I mean, the point of, like, the outset of the Horus Heresy is that Horus manipulates all the legions. Like, he positions them like chess pieces on the game board of the galaxy. So, he's obviously someone who can do that.
So that's one.
The Alpha Legion, like, that's their bread and
Constantly
butter.
doing that, right?
Yeah, that's a Tuesday for them.
Yep.
But, like, Zinch is doing it so very differently, where he's like, well, I need this guy to, like, be afraid of some Maleficarum, so I'm in a position, like, his kind of best friend, rival, co-worker in a magic cult. I'm going to see a magic cult on Terra just so that this guy can see the one anatheme dagger, this ritualistic dagger that he'll then later see in a ritual on a Space Wolf ship during a funeral speech. I don't know.
It's so much more complicated than that. It's like a rite, rite of passage onto death that can last for days and weeks and months.
There's something like
Yeah.
433 stories that the skull has to give.
Right.
And it's like, well, there's no way in the world that's fast.
Nope.
Yeah.
They take breaks. They're like, we're gonna pause for 2 days, like
Yeah.
rest and stuff, and then we'll get back at it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's not even implied that the Space Wolves do an awful lot of sleeping during that either. They're just like drinking
Yeah.
and eating and dancing and playing the drums, and poor House is just like asleep on the floor under his coat, under his
Right.
belt.
Poor normal human. Yeah.
Uh,
It's a cool
yeah.
idea, though. I like the idea of that when somebody dies, you just go to everybody they knew and gather all the cool stories and put them together and then recite them at the funeral. Like, that's neat. I like that.
It's kind of Speaker for the Dead-ish,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I like again, Dan Abnett makes the Space Wolves a thoroughly enjoyable and believable Legion culture. It's great.
Totally. Yep. He nails it 100%.
But so the book kind of wraps up with Hauser remembering Annuncia. Like, he spent so much time going through and digging through his own memories. He'd heard the words 1,000 times, and he spits it at Zinch and like hits Zinch
Right.
in the face with some Annuncia.
And
which
does
is great.
damage. I
It
was
does
like,
damage.
this is not going to work. And then it totally did. So that's interesting to file that one away. Yeah. I love, too, that they're like, we got to kill this demon. Bring in the Sisters of Silence. And bring in
Dreadnoughts.
the dreadnoughts. And just pulverize it into tiny little particles. And they're like, we probably still didn't kill it. It's like, yeah, you're probably right about
Probably right.
that.
We probably just banished it for a bit. Yeah.
Yep. Probably heard it.
Ugh.
It'll be back. Yeah. Good times.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the book. It ends with like, it ends with like Ammon trying to like not Ammon, the primordial annihilator demon, being like, oh yes, I can also read House's mind and gets people's names out of there, and once again trying to like kill Bear with the name Bear, and it's not working.
Right.
And like, it eventually is revealed that like, Hauser's psycho conditioning, it's partly psycho conditioning and partly just warp bullshit giving him knowledge of a language, is good but imprecise, and is like, oh, it fucks up around animals and stuff, which has been a repeated theme in the book, where it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I used the word for worm in Low Gothic instead of Worgen. That's weird. Sorry about that.
Word. Well, it's
crow.
even funnier when he uses a word like raven, and they're like, "What the fuck's a raven?"
Raven. Right.
Yeah.
So that's sprinkled throughout the book, which is great. And then they're like, how come it didn't work with Bear? And he's like, Bear doesn't give a shit, but you've been getting his name wrong for 90 years.
The entire time. And it's like, and Bear just doesn't care. Like, he doesn't care to correct you. And
Fair
we
enough.
saved him. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the book. That's the entire book of Prospero Bjorn.
Yep.
Prospero
Just the
Bjorn.
way it's approached and the way it's executed, just good stuff, man.
Yeah. I do like at the end where they're like, oh, you're a kind of like warp tainted thing. Like, you're a broken chess piece. We can't play with you anymore. But we also can't kill
Yeah.
you. We kind of like you.
Plus, you
Go
have all
into
those
stasis.
stories we told you.
Right.
Yeah.
So they just put him back in stasis again. That's kind
Yep.
of great. There is a inside nod at the end where they're like, oh, we're putting you in stasis, like all those dreadnoughts. You see those dreadnoughts? And Bear's like, I would not want that life for me. I would rather just die. Huge inside nod, because Bjorn ends up as Dreadnought.
Yeah.
Like-
Bummer.
Yeah, so I really like this book. 2 stars, 2 thumbs up, I should say, not 2 stars. Not good.
Out of 2.
2 out of 2, yeah.
Yeah. Good. All right, what's next? Let's get that real fast.
Well, we still could do Descent of Angels if you can get it. No.
Wait. Oh. Did they give it to me? They did give it to me. Usually they send me an email that's like, hey, it came through, and they didn't do that this time.
Oh no.
Hey, I got it.
Excellent.
Yeah. Oh, wait. Nope, just kidding. It lets me read a sample. I thought I had it. Garbage.
Okay.
Okay, so it's on hold, but I don't have it yet. So I don't know. I don't know if
What
we should
about-
risk.
Waiting for it.
Well, I don't like risking. Like it'll come through on Wednesday, and then I'll have time to read.
What about if we just pick another book?
Okay.
Or if you just buy it?
Yeah, could do. Let's see.
Actually, no. Don't buy Descent of
Okay.
Angels. It's good. It's not great. It's worth
Okay.
borrowing from the library. Maybe see if you can get The Outcast Dead by Graham McNeil.
Good old Graham.
Good old Graham. I went back to just the release order. Graham
Okay.
McNeil's Outcast Dead puts us at book 17.
Nice.
We've skipped,
Good
we've
progress.
skipped 3 or 4
Oh.
so far. Like Descent of Angels is book 6.
Oh.
Yeah. So
Yeah, but like, it's not like there's a hard order here, right?
no. This is just chronological release order, not
Yeah.
story. That's what the flowchart's for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, $10 on Amazon for The Outcast Dead. I don't have it. Not available in the library at all.
Okay.
Should we just do that?
Yeah, you want to buy it? That's fine.
Yeah, sure. We'll just do that.
Okay. Hopefully.
Could I not use my Amazon points on this?
Amazon points? What's
Yeah.
an Amazon point?
So I've got a credit card that when I buy stuff on Amazon with it, it gives me points
Oh,
that I
okay.
can redeem to buy stuff on Amazon.
Fair enough.
Maybe you can't do it for books. That's stupid.
I wonder why.
Wow. So the Kindle's $10 and the paperback is $35
Yeah.
for a paperback. This is like 2,000 pages. 468 pages. It says on the print
Okay.
edition. So no, whatever. Here we go. Boink. Good. It's Graham McNeil. It'll be fine.
It'll be good. There's a little bit of a timeline error in this book, but that's okay.
Yeah,
Tiny little itty bitty timeline error.
we can live with it.
Yeah, we'll manage. If you want to know the most expensive Warhammer book that you can buy for paperback, it's called the Uplifting Infantryman's Imperial Primer. The
Okay.
Imperial Infantryman's Uplifting Primer. It had a very limited run. It is the in-world guide, like army book, like handbook that they give to all the Imperial Guardsmen in 40k. So it's full of like just bullshit where it's like orcs may look strong, but they're actually very, very feeble. You don't fear them at all, right? Like all their muscle is just for show. Don't worry about it. You know, it's full of
that's
bullshit
funny.
like that. It's great.
Yeah.
It's if you want to buy a copy, it's like $900.
Woo. Yeah, no thanks. I think I'm good.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Well, good. Gotta wrap this up. Make sure the kids are doing their homework. So we are done for today.
Yes.
All right. Well, thanks for hanging out with us. Another edition of Warhammer and StarCraft 2 with Falcon Paladin and Somicron. Broadcast live at twitch.tv/Somicron every week. And the VODs go to youtube.com/@Somicron. You can support us at patreon.com/Somicron and falconpaladin.store by buying merch. And until next week, thanks for hanging out. If you want to read along with us, you know what the next book is. So thanks again for being here. And until next time, take care of yourself. Goodbye.
Bye.